Hello everybody, here I am, the Gunslinger, with another replay for you. This time, another one from the Latin America server, as I had promised to someone I know. So, in this map we have Test Bug, and in the bottom left position we have Osiris Clan's SenDoh, person we watched some replays on before. And in the top left position we have CLS Klock, and we'll just call him Klock. Now this is a TVT matchup, so we will get some decent analysis from these two players. I know one thing's for sure, TVT is one of the most interesting matchups, as the fact that it can go in many different ways. They can go for many different styles of play, and how they respond to each other is always very intriguing. One thing to note is this map is special, as it does have 3 positions instead of the typical 2 or 4. Also, it seems as though the natural does have a smaller choke than some maps, so it is sometimes easier to wall off and defend. Also, no matter where you are on the map, the rush distances are the same. It is a pretty balanced map in that case, so that allows for a lot of different strategies. However, you can go around about the same distance by air. Now, both of them seem to be going for about the same build, seeing as how the barracks is always one of the first buildings to be made. They're not resorting to early wall-offs either, which is interesting to note. It seems as though an early supply depot was put down by Klock in this lower position by his choke, but not so much by SenDoh. SenDoh instead elected to build a supply depot in a gap between his mineral line. A lot of times in this earlier part you may see some differences in playing style. It seems like Klock is going for his refinery a little bit later, so SenDoh is going to be able to get some of that gas mined faster, and therefore he will be able to go to something along the lines of Marauders or maybe a faster factory. Now, a tech lab is actually going to go on SenDoh's barracks, so that'll allow him to get those Marauders or Reapers or whatever he decides to get. He is also going for an orbital command. And the same thing is going on for Klock, except it seems like Klock's orbital command will be a little bit sooner, as he decided not to go for that tech lab, so he saved up a bit more minerals. First Marine is now out on the field, and he will just simply keep it on his choke and do some defense. Meanwhile, the SCV for Klock is going to move forward. I don't know, it seems as though SenDoh is finally able to do some scouting in the base, but he will be destroyed after he sees the barracks and the refinery. He basically sees all he really needs. He sees a number of SCVs that have been produced, so he knows a rush isn't coming, but if he can get back in time to see this factory, doesn't seem like he will. And he did not see the factory go down, so that will be huge. However, it doesn't seem like SenDoh is going to be making anything along those lines. He's going to actually go in for some Reapers. And another expansion, a fast expansion is going to go down for SenDoh. Not as fast as some others, but it is off of 1 barracks. So we can call it a fast expansion. Now this Reaper is moving out and is able to do some damage against these buildings. He did pull out the pistol and take out that first Marine, so he will be able to do some damage here against these SCVs. He's going to kite back, destroy 1. Will he destroy? He destroys 2. He can destroy a 3rd. That Marine is out on the field, so that was huge. He did do a nice amount of damage. Seems like he took down 3 workers and a Marine, so that is pretty insane. They did actually pause for a little bit, but they are back in action, so that Reaper was able to do some crazy harassment. Now, it seems as though Klock is going to go into a starport build, so that will allow him to get some units out, such as Banshees or Medivacs, if he is going for a massive amount of Marauders and Marines. Now, 2 Reapers are out for SenDoh as he pokes around attacking these SCVs as they're mining. He is going to put it out, and a caster must have left the game. Game must have crashed, but this Reaper will probably be destroyed by these SCVs and Marines, so he did manage to hold it off a little bit. However, you can't really wall off very effectively against Reapers. This expansion, due to that pressure, is secured by SenDoh, so a very good strategy. Now, a factory was put down with the tech lab. Looks like more Reaper harassment was going on. This tech lab is going to get the pre-igniter, or the blue flame Hellion upgrade, so that will be interesting to see how he employs it against the army that SenDoh is pushing forward. He is going for blue flame Hellions as well, so they are going to match each other. And a second factory going down. No starports yet for SenDoh, however. One is attempting to be made once an SCV returns to it. For Klock, he may just leave it there or cancel it to get his resources back. So there are a couple of Hellions. They will be able to do some interesting movements. Now, Klock has seized the Xel'Naga Watchtower, so he will see anything that comes its way. He will, in fact, see that Hellion, so the defenses will move forward for Klock to move his Marines down, as well as he's got these Hellions to prevent them if they come from the western position. This Hellion is, in fact, going to stay back and not be too aggressive, and he's probably, it seems as though SenDoh's going to wait until his Blue Flame upgrade is on its way. Now, the starport is going to be finished by Klock, and that will allow him to get the air units that he needs. However, he's not really resorting to air units per se. In fact, he may have moved. His barracks is still there, so he's gone for the 1-1-1 build of sorts. This expansion for SenDoh is actually fully in use, and he's actually lifted off one of his barracks, as he's going to rely more on these factories. A scan going down, but basically does nothing for Klock at that point. The Hellions are going to move against each other and fight. It seems as though Klock is going to lose his Hellions, and one Hellion almost going down for SenDoh. He's a very skilled player. He's shown some great micro, so he will be able to move forward. He can do some harassment to the buildings of Klock, and that's exactly what he will do. Meanwhile, it seems like Klock wanted to go for an expansion, but if the damage will be done by SenDoh, that will not be very applicable. However, these buildings are going to be very resilient. The Hellion is going to move and take down one of them. SenDoh is going to need to move his units back. Now, he does have expansion secured, so he has gone for some siege tanks. However, he does not have siege tech just yet. That would be a good advantage for him to get, because siege tanks can be so effective against a Bio-Terran if he has a large amount for them. Now, Klock does go ahead and get a medevac down so he can heal his land units. He is going for a large bio build instead. However, he is going to get a Viking out, so that we'll be able to do some damage against some units, but nothing in particular, as there is just another Viking for SenDoh. He may have scouted a starport in SenDoh's base, but Klock is going to move his barracks out as well and do some scouting. Both opponents are going for siege tech, so they will go for the siege tanks, which are very applicable in the mid-game and late-game for Terran versus Terran. Also to note, the command center is almost finished for Klock. It'll be interesting to see if he will go ahead and turn that immediately into an orbital command. The siege tanks... Oh, wow, that Viking for SenDoh was going to poke ahead, and he does get attacked by Klock's Viking of his own. Interesting thing to note here is that this barracks is still hiding in the side. I wonder if he will decide to skirt it in at a later point. But there's actually a medevac here doing some scouting. He could do a drop if he so chose to, but the tanks are moving around. There was a Reaper drop, I believe, or a Hellion drop, and it was just not that effective. They aren't even going to chase the medevac, and it's simply going to stay there. Now the command center is going to actually stay a command center until it lands down, and the SCVs will be Maynarded over for Klock. Now, a couple of Vikings are actually moving forward for SenDoh, and a third Viking is just to the west of it, so he will move forward and see what is to be seen. Probably scout out this expansion and then move away right away, as there will be a decent amount of units there, but none that can protect it, as it's turning into an orbital command. He is going to scan on those siege tanks and realize that he can move forward and destroy anything that needs to be destroyed. Nothing can hit him, as he has the stronger air units. You may see Banshees coming out. Now, this medevac could get destroyed, as there is no defenses, there is no engineering bay, and no missile turrets. So these Vikings can do as they please. Now, the Klock's Vikings are actually going to land down, so they will be safe. However, if these siege tanks go into siege mode, they will have a terrific advantage if they can get in a line and not allow Marines to get concave on them. Siege tanks are going to go into siege mode. The Vikings will get the high ground vision, so there will be more damage done by them as opposed to them. The Vikings are going down immediately. Should see these siege tanks are doing so much damage. However, that siege tank is just out of range. Nothing that can be really hit by the siege tanks at this moment unless they move up. One siege tank is just in range, so this siege tank will go down in a ball of fire. A third expansion is going to be seized by SenDoh, so very effective as he is pushing with these siege tanks. A high mech army, however, these large Vikings are giving even more vision, and it seems as though still no missile turrets in place. So a heavy advantage is in place for SenDoh. Such skill that we've seen in the last replay that I casted for him. More Vikings being destroyed. These siege tanks can move forward, however. Ooh, these Vikings should be able to fire down this orbital command. It will not last very long with these Vikings firing upon it. Hellions and siege tanks moving in. These siege tanks should be moving forward and going into siege mode right at this area down here, as this siege tank has not done such. Ooh, but these Hellions are going to try and catch these siege tanks out of siege mode, get in the middle, and the siege tanks will end up doing damage to each other. However, there go the Hellions. Some SCVs should be moved forward to do some repair job, but Klock is going to GG. That is it. That is that game. SenDoh will seize victory. Another good play for him. And, you know, I don't speak Spanish as fluently, but it seems like he doesn't want to play again. I don't know for sure. Or he doesn't know if you survive. I do not remember what survey means in Spanish. However, good play, indeed. Good use of the Vikings to get that high ground vision and use the siege tanks. Siege tanks are a great addition in the mid game, especially if you're not relying on that typical 3-racks Marine. He did go mech, so he did get the siege tank upgrade. Got Vikings for vision and controlled the air. So that is probably the biggest reason for victory. That's what I learned. Hopefully you learned a couple things as well. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this replay, and I will see you guys